All right, all the numbers but for one continue to trend in favor of the buyers. Of course, what you want to know is, should we expect to see that continue, particularly considering the season? What are seasonal trends going to push us into moving into the fourth quarter here? Let's look at the numbers and their nuance. Welcome to The Numbers and the Nuance. I'm Christopher McGee. I'm the owner of Halcyon Real Estate. Halcyon Real Estate is affiliated with the Keller Williams Market Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. Today is September 18th, 2 days shy of my brother's birthday. And before we go ahead and jump into looking at the numbers from last week right off the MLS so that you've got access to raw data like I do, before we look at those numbers, just remember, if you want deeper information on what all these numbers mean and what things look like when they're up and down, don't forget you can look at my Real Estate Numbers Explained video flagged at the top right of your screen right now. Let's go ahead and check out last week's numbers. First, as always, is our inventory. Our inventory currently sits at 9,337. Now that is up from the previous week, and it's clearly still trending up from the beginning of the second quarter. Next number we look at is our average days on market, the amount of time it takes for a property to receive an offer and go under contract and therefore no longer be active on the market. The average number of days that takes as of last week came to 45. That's up from the previous week. And if we look at this chart, we can see that over the last couple of quarters, this has been trending down overall. But if you look at the last third of that graph, you can see that it's been trending up. And the last third of the graph represents the last 9 weeks of data. So the right now market has this number, days on market on average, traveling up. Average list price as of last week came to $674,111. That's up just a bit from last week. We can see that this has been trending up over the last couple of quarters. Now, average sold price came to $665,306, which means the difference between average list price and average sold price for last week came to $8,805. Now that's up closer to no difference between average list and average sold than last week. And this looks to have been trending down when you give the data kind of a passive glance, but with the exception of 1 week, just a few weeks ago, that dropped twice as low as normal, this number has stayed right about where it is now, close to about 9K under list price that homes are selling at on average. What about the number of homes that sold last week? That came to 477. That's up from the previous week. And if we look at this over the last couple of quarters, we see that it's trending down just the slightest bit. We started out the quarter around 540, 530 homes sold per week on average, and that stayed pretty consistent. But with the last several weeks, it whiplashed up and down a bit there, but it whiplashed down quite a bit. And so it's starting to look like this is trending more like 510 per week. The number of homes currently under contract comes to 4,520. That's up an insignificant amount from the previous week, just 2 from the previous week. And when you're looking at a number of 4,500 plus, 2 up or 2 down doesn't make too much of a difference. So we can see that this is trending down, but number didn't move very much from the previous week. The number of times that a seller decides they need to drop their asking price in order to better attract a buyer and hopefully go under contract, that number last week came to 1,076. That's up from the previous week. This has clearly trended up since the beginning of the second quarter. And in fact, this is the highest this data set has been all year. We did see this number go over 1,000. In fact, we saw it several times go over 1,500 in the last quarter of last year, and that is pretty typically seasonally normal for this number to travel up this high at this point. So this is trending up, and I do think that is seasonally expected. And lastly, as always, the number of listing contracts that were either canceled, expired, or withdrawn. That number came to 318, up a bit from the previous week, and we can see that this has been trending up just a bit over the last couple of quarters. Okay, so just like last week, all of these data sets, all of these numbers that we look at from week to week have continued with this week's video to move all in the direction of favoring the buyer, with that one exception of average list price. So the good news for buyers is, seasonally, we expect the trends all to continue to move in favor of the buyer. We expect inventory to continue to come up. We expect average days on market to continue to come up. We expect the number of price reductions to continue to go up. We expect the difference between average list price and average sold price to get bigger in favor of the buyer. And yes, we do expect average list price to start to come down if seasonal trends do what we would typically expect them to do. And And this underscores a point that I make with a lot of buyers, and that is that the last quarter or winter in general can be one of the best times to buy a home, just because seasonally speaking, everything will tend to be in the buyer's favor. School just started and the holidays are coming and the temperature is dropping and people just don't want to mess with the move right now, which means if you're a buyer and you're out looking for homes in earnest right now, you have fewer people to compete against when you want to make an offer. Homes have been on the market for a little longer and sellers are a little more eager to get the sell happening. So you have more choices, less competition, and just a little more leverage when it comes to negotiating the price in the direction you want it to be. So it's not what everybody wants to do, and that's exactly why looking to buy a house right now can be very much to your advantage. All right, thanks for watching. If you or anybody you know is looking to move in Utah in the next coming months, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to help. You want to work with someone who's honest. You want to work with someone who's got your best interests in the forefront of their mind. You want to work with somebody who's very communicatively excellent, and you want to work with somebody who knows the market, who knows these numbers, and the nuance that they ought to be able to read into them. And I'd love to be able to help. And as always, don't forget, if you want to stay educated on Utah's real estate market, there's just not going to be a better way than to hit that subscribe and stay solid on what all these numbers look like, where the trends are going from week to week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.